Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the worst thing to pop up on the internet since pop-ups, and this video we're breaking down all the commercials so far in WandaVision. These strange intermissions have been dotted throughout the season, and though they just seem like some fun little gags on the surface, there's actually a lot going on with them. We start with our first one for the Toastmate all the way back in episode 1, and are introduced to a male and female character who appear throughout most of the adverts. Though we don't know who these people are, it has been theorized that they are actually Wanda and Pietro's parents that were killed when they were younger. After being omitted from the Your Magic commercial, it was theorized that they didn't appear because the pair were dead by this decade, but we'll discuss that later in the video. Now our first one shows the Toastmate 2000 being advertised by the man and woman, played by Itmahar Enriquez and Victoria Blade, as in Blade the Vampire Hunter. It's all connected. We're introduced to a broken piece of crap, and Itmahar says, "Is your husband tired of you burning his toast?" This of course plays on the gender roles of the time, in which men were primarily seen as the breadwinners, whereas women were seen as the bread burners. Hey, you having that? Now he kinda mocks the audience for being stupid enough to use an older toaster, before taking us to the Toastmate 2000 made by Stark Industries. This is laced with a lot of hidden meanings, and there are a couple of details in this that you need to pay attention to, so get off your bloody phone. Now the first one is that we're watching something that is broken, then being replaced by a model that has all of the same functions, but seems better. This could be in relation to Vision, who was of course killed in Infinity War before being brought back for the series. In Tom King's The Vision, he was actually given the nickname Toaster, and the front of the machine itself looks like a bit of a smiley face, with the light in the middle of that potentially representing the Mind Stone. The Stark logo industry likely represents the missile that landed in front of her back when she was younger. This didn't detonate, but staring at that logo made her and her brother hate Tony, because it wouldn't be an MCU movie if every single villain wasn't somehow created by him. It's all connected. Now the sound of the toaster being activated also sounds like when the arc reactor powers up, perhaps tying back to this. We also get the slogan, "Forget the past, this is your future," which of course aligns not only with the idea of the series, but the Avengers themselves. In WandaVision, Wanda of course took Vision and started a seemingly new and perfect life, and due to the amnesia that the pair suffer from, they have very much forgotten what led to them being in Westview. Wanda also forgot her hatred of the Avengers and ended up joining them, perhaps linking back to that line, though it could be a reach. Now the beeping red light on the toaster starts to speed up, and this could hint at time in the Hex moving faster than it is on the outside world. Billy and Tommy of course grew up very fast, and the decade switches make me wish I had time in a bottle because they went by in a flash. Oh wait, that doesn't work. Anyway, another interesting element that centers around time is that we actually see two clocks in this ad, one over the man's shoulder and then over the woman's shoulder. The first one displays the time as being 6, whereas the latter displays it as noon or midnight, potentially hinting to us at how time inside the Hex can be day, whereas on the outside it can be night. There's also a little lobster in the back, which could be a reference to the one that appears as Wanda's door knocker at the end of the episode. It's all connected. How the commercials themselves also tie to the Infinity Stones in some way, and as we know from the films, Wanda's power draws from one. It is possible that these commercials are hinting to us that she has to recreate them in order to stabilize the universe, as we know from Avengers Endgame that they have a huge impact on things. If this is the case, then this one represents the Mind Stone, and bear this in mind when we get to the next ad. That's not even a good one, is it? Anyway, cut to the Strucker watch being shown in episode 2, and this centering around the timepiece makes me think that it's connected to the Time Stone. Strucker himself was actually paramount in turning Wanda and Pietro into superpowered beings, and the villain featured in the Winter Soldier post-credits scene before he popped up at the start of Age of Ultron. Connected to Hydra, the villain was paramount in twisting their bodies so that he could use them as weapons, and he's had a huge impact on Wanda's life. Now an interesting thing about the advert is that the time changes in it. Initially when we first see the watch, it appears to be about 10 past 9, yet seconds later it's 2:42. In the background of the ad we can also hear the ticking of the watch getting faster and faster, again tying back to this idea of time accelerating. Jump over to the one in episode 3 for Hydra Soak, and we see the woman back, except this time she has 2 children. This is likely playing on the idea that Wanda herself gets 2 kids in the episode, called Billy and Tommy, which just so happens to be the name of both my grandfathers. It's all connected. Wait, is that right? Getting a bit weird now, that, Kevin. Careful with that. Anyway, a kid kicks a football at the table, which then sends her food flying. The dog pees in the kitchen, she overcooks some food, and the blender goes everywhere. We hear a voice say, "Do you need a break?" To which she replies, "You read my mind." She closes her eyes and finds herself transported to a luxurious bath where she's being fanned by the man. The voiceover then says, "Come with me, escape to a world all your own, where your problems float away." Now, the "do you need a break" comment could be referring to Wanda grieving over the death of Vision at the end of Endgame. Unlike Tony, because he wasn't viewed as being a real person, the character was not given a funeral, and sort of experimenting on his body has shown that there is very little respect for him or Wanda's wishes. The mind-reading comment could be referring to Agnes physically going through Wanda's thoughts, and then giving her the ability to have a break in Westview. This dream reality of the woman soaking in the bath whilst being adorned is also very similar to the aesthetic of the city, in which she has found the goddess within and is controlling all of reality. Hydra of course ties back to Wanda's history, as she gained her powers through their experiments, and the blue box itself does look like the Tesseract. Hydra Soap was actually referenced in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when Phil Coulson said that it had mind-altering powers, and though we don't know whether they're behind this whole thing or not, it would make some sense. Episode 4 doesn't have any commercials, so it's not all connected, but it is connected because it's connected to the show, so it's all connected. Also, if you're enjoying the video, then please click the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, otherwise I'll kill you and I'll kill your whole family. Now jump to episode 5 and we see an ad for Lagos, which I actually found out from one of my followers, Obi, who lives in the city, that it's pronounced Lagos. Obi, you got yourself a follow, and Kevin Feige, you got yourself an unfollow, you son of a bitch. Now this is an amazing paper towel that's much better than the leading brand, and it could be hinting at how Wanda vastly overpowers the Sword members outside the Hex in a moment that actually precedes this ad. Now Lagos is the city that featured at the beginning of Civil War, and it's of course where Wanda ended up killing lots of people, which eventually forced the UN to strike up the Sokovia Accords. The tagline of the paper is, "For when you make a mess you didn't mean to," and this of course ties into how she was trying to stop the detonation Crossbones set off, but it still led to the deaths of several people. Now an interesting facet of this commercial is that the man actually does some cleaning too, and in the prior ones all of the busy work had been handled by the woman. This is commenting on how gender norms were starting to alter at the time, and that men started chipping in too. It also ties in with the episode itself, as Vision starts to alter how he comes across, and whereas earlier in the season he very much fit in with the illusion, he starts to question what's really going on. As for the Infinity Stone that this ties in with, I think due to the red liquid that we see being cleaned up, that it is related to the Reality Stone, and that too can alter things similar to how the paper alters the mess, I guess. Anyway, cut to the Yo Magic ad, and this video is about Yo Mama Ryan Airy. Haha, I got you, you sucker. Now unlike the ads that came before, this actually doesn't feature the man and woman, and instead it's a claymation commercial that plays on the style at the time seen in things like Celebrity Deathmatch. Yo Magic is a nod to Yo Plate, a yogurt brand, and it features a boy stranded on a desert island who's visited by a cool surfing shark. Now this shark could be seen as being a play on Quicksilver, as they both showed up out of nowhere and seem to be too cool for school. Both the shark and Pietro use the term little dude throughout the episode, and they seem very much to want to keep the characters where they are. The shark could easily surf out of there with the kid, and Pietro at several points tells Wanda that everything's awesome in Westview, especially the hair. The boy tries to open the packet, but he's unable to, and he withers away and dies, like all the hope I had for 2021 being a good year, 7 days into it. Now this is arguably the most layered out of all of the ads that we've seen. The time passing quickly on the island is likely a nod to how it moves in the Hex compared to the rest of the world. The child could represent the children of Westview, who up until this point were absent from the area. It It has been thought that they were fast asleep in their beds, and if this is the case, they were likely starving until Wanda found them something to do. "Why are you stealing all the trick-or-treat candy, Quicksilver? These lads, they've not eaten for weeks now." Now it could also be referencing how Vision attempts to escape the Hex later in the episode. Upon leaving, he's slowly dismantled to the point that he's just about to die before Wanda expands it. All of the commercials so far are pulling from a trauma in Wanda's life, and this might reference the death of Vision as he too turned grey upon being killed. Yo Magic's tagline is the snack for survivors, and this may also reference how Wanda was a child that was experimented on and she survived, whereas the rest of the youngsters that were given the magic didn't. Now lastly, it could be a nod to how the town is actually operating, as Wanda was given a boost in her magic and this made her remain in a centralized location similar to the island. However, something else was afoot here, or rather a Finn, little shock joke there, and Westview could actually be draining her life force. Monica said that in the Hex she could sense the endless emptiness that Wanda felt, and thus the child dying of an empty stomach could be referencing the emptiness. I can't even finish that sentence, what a reach. Now this child is constantly trying to pull out the yogurt, but it's not really real, and this might line up with how Wanda keeps trying to force Vision to be a certain way, even though he will inevitably not give in to her. The ad itself also seems to be referencing the Soul Stone due to its use of death and the sun, which appears to be similar to the stone itself. The skull that we see and the red t-shirt could be playing on the red skull due to the features, and it does seem to line up with that more than the other remaining stones. Now the latest commercial from episode 7 features the woman sitting on a bench by herself, and we also see what I think are the two children from the commercials running past her. If these have represented Wiccan and Speed in the past, then it makes sense that they're fleeing, leaving her by herself, as in the entry Agnes takes them to her house to harvest their souls. Both Victoria Blade and Itmahar return, which I think negates the idea that they are Wanda's parents, though it could be a nod to the snap and how some people vanished for some time before coming back, like my wife's herpes. What? Now the woman on the bench to me very much represents Wanda, and if all of the commercials are in reference to a trauma from her past, then this is likely the grief that she felt in the aftermath of Endgame. Most of the people who died in Infinity War were brought back, even Gamora, and thus she did get shortchanged in some ways. At one point in the ad, the character also appears in bed by herself, which mirrors the opening of the episode, namely Wanda being alone in bed too. The advertisement centers around an antidepressant known as Nexus that allows you to be anchored to your reality or a reality of your choice. Wanda of course created Westview, and this is commenting on how the journey she had could have been controlled by an outside force, as it was Agatha all along. Now the side effects of the pill are that they leave you feeling your feelings, confronting your truth and seizing your destiny, perhaps hinting at Wanda becoming Scarlet Witch. Nexus actually has a lot of meanings throughout the Marvel Universe, and a Nexus point is the doorway between dimensions, which many have theorized the Hex actually is. This would explain how Agatha was able to bring Quicksilver across, and there is potential that Tobey Maguire will walk his way through one too. Nexus is also the central hub where all of the information on the internet travels through, and this was used by the Avengers to track Ultron in their second film. Wanda is also a Nexus being, which means that she's someone who's the same across all dimensions. Every version of Wanda is Wanda, and these people are seen as keystones in the multiverse. Now, the word reality that's used here either means that we got the Lagos being linked to it wrong, or the entire Infinity Stone theory is incorrect. I probably should have waited until I'd watched this episode before sending the first part of the video off to the editor, but we're here now, his week's been ruined, and my wife won't talk to me anymore because of the herpes comment. However, the Reality Stone does appear in multiple states, and as it's the only stone that can change its atomic makeup, it does make sense that alternate versions of it could be in the show. Lastly, the tagline says, because the world doesn't revolve around you, or it does, and this of course links to Wanda, the person who the Westview world is built around. Captain Obvious here with another great observation there, but I've tricked you until watching until the end of the video now, so too late to go back on it, isn't it? Anyway, I'd of course love to hear if there's any ways that you interpreted the ads differently, so make sure you comment below and let me know. As a thank you for interacting with the video, you'll be entered into a prize draw on the 28th of February, in which we're giving away 3 copies of the Marvel Phase 3 4K box set to our subscribers. All you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the commercials. The winners of last month's competition are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at Heavy Spoilers. If you want to watch something else, then make sure you check out our breakdown of episode 7, which will be linked on screen right now. Also, thank you for getting me to 500,000 subscribers. I don't have to get a proper job now, so cheers, mate. And with that out of the way, I've been Paul. I'll see you next time, yeah? You take care. Peace.